Hi, welcome to the Makers ACT program. I'm going to be your instructor, Ahromi, and we're here to talk about how the ACT will be improving and enhancing for the winter session and into 2026 as well. Now, there are some particular strategies that we need to be on the lookout for with these new and improved tests, and we're going to be going into those details a little bit today. So, this is the forecasted timeline for today, moving into the next year. And so September 2025 is where the enhanced composite score for all testees were rolled out. And so what that means is the super scoring was available to all of the students who are taking the exam, whether you were taking it in the US or in the international stages as well. Now, for the international students, we might have to wait just a little bit until we can get the enhanced version. And so what we can predict is that will come out in spring 2026. We're hoping that they will be sticking to the schedule and we could get ready for that in the winter session. Now, you guys all know about what the enhanced test entails. There's going to be more time per item, which means that a lot of you guys are going to be, working through the test with a little bit more time, a little bit less pressure, but that doesn't mean that we could go, much more easy on the test. There's actually a lot more that you have to study because of that, so we'll go into that. We could also maintain the score meaning, which means that previously it was graded on a 36 scale. Now, just because the test has changed its format a bit doesn't mean that the scale is changing any bit at all. It's still on the 36 scale. The reduced overall length will give you less pressure on the test, but also, like I said before, there's still a lot of things that you have to learn and know, and so that's where I will be coming in a little bit handy to fill in the gaps of your knowledge, the things that you don't really know about. Now, the science section is a choice. It's going to be optional. And before, if science wasn't really your strong suit, if you were more of a humanities student, then that option will still be available for you, where you can take the writing section as an optional choice. You could also take the science as well, but that will be optional and that will be included as a separate STEM score. So what does that mean for our test enhancements in detail? Now, if you look at the graph over here, it means that 75 items will be reduced down to 50 items, and from 45 minutes, we only have about 35 minutes to solve it. Now, that may seem a much better deal for you, but actually, if you calculate it, it turns out to be the same amount of time that you guys have to solve one question. That'll be like a minute, 0.00 something seconds. Still going to be the same, so that doesn't mean that you could, relax on the test. No, you still have to solve every single question as if your life depends on it, all right? That's really important. And then for the reading section, you do have a little bit more time as well. So from 40 items, it's reduced down to 36 items. And then from 35 minutes, you're given a little bit more time, 5 more minutes, and that turns into 40 minutes. Now, that does give you a little bit more time per question to solve it and read the passages as well. And so you're going to be feeling a lot less pressure. For the math, science, and writing sections, we can see a similar trend going on here as well, where you have a bit more time. There's a little thing that is hidden in the graphs over here. Under the 50 items, do you see this, you guys? 10 FT, and then the reading section as well. 36 items, you have 9 FT, and this 4 F. What is FT? So it might seem a bit hidden. This is a little bit of a trick and secret. These are field test items. And what field test items are, you guys, is the experimental questions, as most of you guys might know it. Now, these questions are not graded and they don't count towards your score at all. Are they labeled on the exam? No. We don't know whether it's going to be a field test or whether it's going to be a real question that counts towards your score. So you have to treat every single question as if it matters. But we do know little bit more of a secret about the field test questions. Now, there was this huge 180-page PDF that the ACT put out regarding the specific details of how the test was going to be enhanced and the reason why they made these changes and the particular details of these changes. And so I skimmed through those and I scoured through all of the details and I found this. It says, as is typical, the EFT units will not be the first or the last unit of the section. What does that mean? It means that on the test, the first unit and the last unit are not going to have the field test questions. They're not going to be experimental, which means that they're going to be dispersed throughout the middle of the test. You don't know where it's going to be at, but they're going to be dispersed through the middle. And that changes our strategy a bit. That means we need to work our way out from the outside towards the inside. We have to attack the first and the last passages and make sure that we get points from those parts because those are not going to be field test items, right? Whereas in the middle, if we lose a little bit of time, that might be okay if we get lucky and those would be field test items. It's not going to count towards your score. These are some other changes that are happening on the ACT as well. So if we look at the English section, we see over here that conventions of standard English is being changed from about 50% from the legacy exam over to about 38–40% on the enhanced ACT. What that means is there's going to be less grammar questions on the English section. And instead, they're going to fill in that space with more production of writing questions, which is going to be, craft, structure, purpose, those sorts of questions that require you to read the passage a little bit more. And again, at this point, students might be thinking, wait, does that mean that I don't have to know the grammar rules at all? No, actually, that translates to the opposite, where you do have to know the grammar rules, because if there are less grammar questions that they're testing you on, do you think they're going to put easier questions on it? No, they're probably going to put a little bit harder, more difficult, challenging grammar questions, right? And so you do have to know every single grammar rule. You can't just go off of intuition, as most of my students do. You have to know the rule. You have to actually really ingest it as if it is second nature to you. And so as soon as you see the question, you should be able to solve it right away. So during my classes, I will be going over the grammar, every single grammar rule, starting from what is a subject, what is a verb, what is object, preposition, what is everything. And then starting from the very beginning, we're going to move in a stepwise fashion until you get the big picture of everything that they're going to test you on. And we're going to go through drills and drills and drills of these until it does become second nature. If we look at the math section, this one stuck out to me a little bit. Preparing for higher math, which involves number and quantity, algebra, functions, geometry, statistics, etc., it jumps from about 60% to 80%. So what that means for you really, really good at math students is you have nothing to worry about. But for those of you guys who are a little bit struggling with math, you should be a little bit more concerned about equations, numbers, and knowing the formulas, etc. So this is where our really, really great math teacher is going to help you out on that as well. Now, the reading section, there's not a lot of big changes, although I have heard that from the past exam, the most recent exam, there were a couple changes regarding that. I'll talk about that in a second. For the science section, there does not seem to be a very big change, but there will be a little bit more questions, number of questions, testing you about basic scientific knowledge. So previously, you could just look at the passages and figure it out, even without any, basic knowledge about chemistry or physics. You did need to know a little bit, but you will need to know a bit more on these upcoming exams. So if you look at this format over here, the legacy ACT item did not have the question stem at the very top, but on the enhanced ACT item, it does have it included. So the question stem is just telling you the instructions of what you have to figure out. So helpfully, it tells you which choice is clearest and most precise in context. Now, the no change answer is going to be bolded, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the correct answer. Okay, so don't get confused about that. And also, there are going to be some discontinued items in English, number one being idiomatic phrases, which a lot of my students have a lot of issues with. But the reason why they discontinued that was because they thought that there was going to be a bit of bias in the exam, meaning a lot of the American students, they use these idiomatic expressions in daily life, and so they're very, very familiar with it. Whereas international students, they would only be exposed to it if they read a lot, and they wouldn't really naturally incorporate it into their speaking. So because of that slight difference, I think they got rid of it, and that's a good thing. Number two, the not is not going to be in the question stem anymore, which is again a really good thing because that confused a lot of students as well. Number three, paragraph ordering might be also taken out as well. So there's a lot of changes that we can look forward to. So regarding all of these changes, how should we approach it? Well, this is where I come in and help you find the best strategy to get a 36 on your upcoming exam. These changes are completely new, and not really anybody knows how to approach it perfectly. And so our main strategy is to give you the foundational skills that you can approach this test, like no matter what you get, whether it's a test that is flipped upside down or whether it's a test that's given to you in Latin, you will have the foundational skills in order to hit this test out of the ballpark, okay? So number one, preparation for test flexibility is key at our 학원. And that entails recreating mock test conditions. So when you come in on Friday, maybe we might give you a test that's a little bit shorter than what you were expecting. Or when you come in the next week, we might give you a test that has an additional passage that you weren't expecting on that day. But if you have the foundational and basic skills for reading and English and math and science and whatnot, you will be able to still, no matter what kind of test that you get, you will be able to get a perfect score. And that is our goal. Also, a little bit interesting thing, there's a little bit of an anecdote that I have. One of my students, the day before the test, she was like, oh my God, teacher, I forgot my calculator. I don't have the necessary calculator that the ACT needs. What am I gonna do? I'm cooked, oh no. And she was panicking, but if you come to Makers, we will give you all of the knowledge that you need in order to be prepped, no matter what situation it is. Because all of these questions are designed for you to be able to solve it even without a calculator. So you actually using the calculator as a crutch is bad. It's not really a great thing. So on one hand, we will teach you how to use the calculator in a very efficient manner, but on the other hand, we will also teach you how to solve these questions in the worst case scenario. And that is what we need in order to succeed. So the next thing that we want you to learn are solid foundational skills. Like we said before, drills and drills and drills will lead to success. They will become second nature to you. You won't even have to think about how to solve the question anymore. You'll see the question and you'll know the answer right away. And lastly, we want to aim for time efficiency. So no matter how much you know about the ACT, or no matter how good of a reader you are, no matter how good you are at solving the most difficult math questions or English questions, inevitably, the thing that limits many, many students is going to be time. They run out of time. And so that's the feedback that I get back 90% of the time. It was like, teacher, I understood the passage, I knew the question, but if I had a little bit more time to solve it, I think I could have gotten a 36. I think I could have broken through my threshold score. And that's really a shame, isn't it? Where you do have the knowledge necessary, but you don't have the strategy in order to attack the test and be able to finish it within the allotted time. And that's the difference between the ACT and these standardized exams like the SAT as well, and versus a regular school exam like HL English or AP English. That's the main difference. You gotta be able to read quickly and think quickly and approach it in a way where you can solve everything within the time that is given to you. So we're going to work on how we can approach that in a very efficient manner. And Makers does everything in order to allow its students to succeed. We're always striving to figure out strategies that can help out students just even the tiniest little bit. And so in the past summer, in this summer, we took our students to Guam for the paper testing, and we got feedback that a lot of them succeeded on the test as well. And so because Makers is always trying our best, I hope that our students are going to be trying their best on the exam as well to get a perfect score. And I will help them out as much as I can. Thank you very much.